Gases are a state of matter that has an extremely low density, so all of the particles are spaced very far apart from one another. Gases of different chemicals will have very different chemical properties, but their physical properties will be surprisingly similar. That is to say, gases have a number of characteristic properties. The first one is that all gases will expand to fill their container. If you have a certain amount of gas in a very small container, it will have a relatively high density. And if you expand the size of that container, expand the volume of the container, the density of that gas will become lower, but it will expand to fill the volume. Another characteristic property of gases is that they are highly compressible. So if I was to have a certain amount of gas in a very large container, I'd be able to decrease the volume of that container pretty significantly and still contain the same amount of gas. A third characteristic property is that gases form homogeneous mixtures with other gases. A good example of this is air. Air contains a mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and a number of other gases, but those gases are always evenly mixed together. They don't split apart into layers of nitrogen and layers of oxygen, for example. And you may remember from studying intermolecular forces that dispersion forces increase with increasing molecular weight. So it should come as no real surprise that most chemicals that are gases at room temperature have fairly low molecular weights. And one final thing to think about when talking about characteristics of gases is the idea of pressure. All gases exert pressure on materials around them. So pressures are a force exerted by a material, in this case a gas, on a certain area. And in most contexts that we'll be discussing, this is going to be the force of gas particles colliding with the walls of any container that it might be in.